Lego Monkie Kid is one of the best shows on the planet. Changed my mind. The wonderful writing, stunning animation, and captivating characters cannot be understated. I got so obsessed with the show that I read the entirety of Journey to the West, which, needless to say, is a long book. And I regret nothing. So I am super hyped for this 5th season. Using the knowledge I have garnered from the Journey to the West story and Chinese mythology in general, I have some theories for where the future of the show may be headed. In this video, I will be breaking down the Season 5 trailer in order to predict and explain what may be happening. But before we begin, I want to talk about the circumstances surrounding the trailer itself. If you somehow missed it, Lego Monkie Kid Season 5 has released a trailer, sort of. As far as I know, Lego themselves have not actually acknowledged it, so where did it come from? Where did we get this? Also, it hasn't been released in English yet, but I'll talk about that in a second. Also, I've seen a lot of people complain about the animation, which I want to touch on real quick. It is true that Flying Bark Studios, the studio that animated the previous 4 seasons of the show, is not coming back for this season. The animation is now rigged instead of hand-drawn, which gives it that more awkward look. A lot of people are complaining about it, but I think we should give it a chance. The writers, actors, sound designers, etc. are all the same people as before, and they killed it with the previous seasons. So the story and everything else important about the show will be intact. And the new animation isn't bad. From what we've seen, I'd rank it an 8 out of 10. The problem is that Flying Bark Studios is a consistent 15 out of 10. They're just so good that we've been spoiled. Anyway, tangent over, let's talk about this trailer. The trailer isn't in English, but I found a YouTube channel called MK_team that gave it Polish subtitles, which I stuck into Google Translate. So the translation definitely isn't perfect, but it gives us more of an idea of what's going on. I'll link the trailer in the description if you haven't seen it yet, and I suggest you watch it before continuing with this video. The trailer begins in the Underworld, which is ruled by the 10 kings of the Underworld. I assume this will take place near the beginning of the season, if not in the first episode, and it seems to kick off the whole adventure. Although we do not know which king this is specifically talking to us, I theorize that this is King Yama, who is the Underworld king featured most prominently in Journey to the West. He is talking to MK, WUKONG, and Macaque, and it seems like they were pulled here unexpectedly due to the fact that MK is in his pajamas for a frame. In later instances in the same scene, he's in his normal everyday outfit, but this could just be magic, maybe? The Underworld King asks them if they know what they're doing there. And then we get a first look at King Li Jing, Nezha's father, as the Underworld King later points out. I have a whole list of Journey to the West characters I want to see in this show, and King Li Jing was definitely on that list, so I am super excited for him to be here. Some background information on King Li Jing. He is known as the pagoda bearer, which is why we see him bearing a pagoda. He works closely with his son Nezha under the Jade Emperor and has fought Monkey King on multiple occasions. He also has 2 other sons older than Nezha, Jinsha and Musha. I don't know much about Jinsha because he wasn't in Journey to the West, but Musha is something of an apprentice to Guanyin, who I also really want to see in the show, and I'm honestly surprised we haven't yet because of how big of a player she was in Journey to the West. If you want to learn more about her and just the story of the Journey to the West in general, I recommend watching Overly Sarcastic Productions' recap of the story. Although Li Jing and Nezha are often seen as a duo throughout Journey to the West, Nezha is the son who Li Jing has the most strained relationship with. A lot of chaotic things unfold. Nezha was a very chaotic child, I don't know how else to put it, and long story short, King Li Jing is able to use magic to trap Nezha in a burning tower whenever he wants to. So, that's probably why in the trailer we see Nezha follow his father without looking like he really wants to. I doubt Lego Monkie Kid would go that dark, but maybe Li Jing will have a hold on Nezha in some other way, and not, you know, forcing his kid to do whatever he wants or else he gets burned alive! In this scene, MK also says something about King Li Jing becoming the new Jade Emperor, which I'm sure won't cause any problems at all! No, nothing can go wrong with this idea. And King Li Jing puts the circlet back on the Monkey King, what?! In case you are somehow unaware, in the Journey to the West, Guanyin gives Tong Songcheng a circlet to give to son WUKONG because he was being an inobedient, impulsive little brat. But if he recited the magic words, it would give WUKONG a migraine. So in short, it was a form of control, which is why I freak out at the scene in Season 4 where the Ink Demon version of Monkey just takes it off to symbolize that he can't be controlled, but I digress. But this circlet looks different from the one before. It's in the shape of a pagoda, which shows that King Li Jing has all the control. His pagoda has the power to capture any spirit, demon, or god, so I wonder if this is how that works in the Lego Monkie Kid universe. Backing up a couple frames, we see MK and the whole crew, including Monkey with the circlet, meaning this takes place after the Underworld scene, and they seem to be in a temple of some sort? there are clouds painted on the walls, so remember that. Next, we get a few frames in rapid succession. The palace of the Underworld exploding, more cracking in reality, and some new creatures I get to talk about. After doing some research, I found out who these creatures are. In this frame is the Azure Dragon and the White Tiger. They are part of the 4 symbols of the Chinese constellations, the other 2 being the Black Tortoise and the Vermilion Bird, which we see later in the trailer. There is also a 5th bonus creature called the Yellow Dragon. Each of these creatures are associated with a cardinal direction and one of the 5 elements: water, wood, fire, metal, and earth. I theorize that MK and the crew are going to be hunting these creatures throughout the season. In this frame, Azure Dragon and the White Tiger are both crumbling apart, dying similarly to Azure Lion in Season 4. Both also have 2 colored rocks that probably contain their life force, more on that later. We see these rocks all throughout the trailer. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call these Infinity Stones because, well, look at them, that's what they are. In the next frame, we see a mountain erupting into a sky beam, which is probably the same yellow in the next scene that WUKONG is standing in front of when he's looking back at Macaque. Next, MK asks Nezha a question, and notice the clouds painted on the wall. The lighting looks like we're still in the Underworld, but it could be that other building, I don't know. I also don't know what MK is asking, because the translator has him asking what a Genesis aid is, and I have no clue if that's a translation error or if that's actually what he's saying. Nezha seems to explain what it is, but again, the translator has failed me, and instead all we have to go on is this really cool picture of something that looks like a mini solar system. It could also be the yellow sky beam Monkey and MK were stepping into. It's also interesting to note that WUKONG does not have the CIRCLET yet in that scene, and because it's MK, WUKONG, and Macaque, and it's those 3 in that scene, I wonder if that's how they got into the Underworld in the first place? But then how do you explain MK's pajamas? I have no clue. I also want to point out the hand in this frame. It reminds me of the Buddha's hand, because in Journey to the West, Buddha revealed that the entire universe is in his hand, or is his hand, it's weird, don't question it, and Monkey actually visits the fingers at the edge of the universe, although he doesn't recognize them for what they are, and thinks they're just pillars and he graffitis it. Anyway, this is probably the Buddha or something. Next, we see Sandy go off! Yes, King! This and the next scene with MK and Sandy make me think we're going to have an MK and Sandy centric episode, which I'm super hype about. The last time we got any Sandy lore was that episode where Sandy got the magic flower to help MK's hiccups, and he teased a little bit about his backstory to the huntsman, and that's all we have! That was in Season 2! We need Sandy lore! Next, we're back in the big old room with the clouds painted on the wall, and the green and purple Infinity Stones that came out of Azure Dragon and White Tiger come down from the heavens and present themselves to MK and crew. This could mean that the Dragon and Tiger scene was a flashback, or I don't know, there's some kind of disconnect between when the Dragon and Tiger give up their life force and when MK receives it in the form of a rock. Then there's the Vermilion Bird, whose element is fire and his cardinal direction is the south. I assume the cardinal directions each of these constellation symbol creatures are probably where we're going to have to go to get these stones. I also think it's worth pointing out that in Journey to the West, the first thing WUKONG did once he was born was bow to each of the 4 cardinal directions. I don't know if this will be important at all, but I did find it worth noting. Next, we see the 100-Eyed Demon Lord! I'm so excited! This guy looks like a centipede and he's icky. Let me tell you the story of his role in the Journey to the West. His story is one of the last in the book, and it's honestly one of my least favorites because it's weird. It starts with the 7 spider ladies capturing Tong Song Chong, because of course they do, and I am not going to go into further detail because some weird stuff happens and I am not going to explain it. If you're curious, Google at your own risk. Anyway, the 100-Eyed Demon Lord is the guy the Spider Sisters answer to. His eyes radiate a golden light to confuse victims. And in my notes I have written, he uses a ruse but Monkey sees through it, and I don't know what that means. Because of the 100-Eyed Demon Lord having a connection with the 7 Spider Sisters, I have an inkling that he may have known the Spider Queen. Every single villain MK and crew have encountered in the show have been directly from Journey to the West except for the Spider Queen, but if she's one of the 7 sisters, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a teeny tiny MK in the corner. Next frame, we see a big old blue bird fighting a red and white mech suit, and I think this is one of the 4 symbols of the Chinese constellations, despite the fact that it doesn't match with any of them. The only 2 we haven't seen in the trailer is the Black Tortoise and the Yellow Dragon, but Lego Monkie Kid is no stranger to changing the lore in Journey to the West, or changing certain lineups, most notably the Brotherhood. In the book, Azure, Pang, Yellow Tusk, and Macaque were not in the Brotherhood, although they were in the book, and there are characters in the Brotherhood that are the same species as those 4, so for simplicity's sake, they just combined the characters, which is valid. Then there's a scene of full monkey MK leaping at the Infinity Stones colored blue, yellow, green, red, and purple. We know green is from Azure Dragon, purple is from White Tiger, and we can assume that the red is from Vermilion Bird. I think yellow is probably going to be from Yellow Dragon, and blue from whatever that blue bird we saw was. So I suppose we're getting Black Tortoise erasure. But why do we need these Constellation Life Force Infinity Stones in the first place? Well, it probably has to do with the fact that, the world is falling apart, and these may be able to fix that in some way. We also know that the Jade Emperor's power is temporarily locked away by Nezha, and no one is powerful enough to wield it. If King Li Jing is going to become the new Jade Emperor, I have a feeling that he's not powerful enough to wield it either, which is why he needs the stone and why he's crashing in on the crew in that cloud-painted room that the green and purple were inhabiting. For some reason, the crew doesn't want Li Jing to have the power, so is MK taking it here? It's hard to say. We get some cool fight scenes and then see a big ol' red and blue mech suit, which may be the same one from the Bluebird scene. There are also 3 spinning somethings on every side. Macaque is going through some stuff, and there's one frame that looks like an eyeball, which is super exciting, and here's why. Season 4 teased more about Macaque and WUKONG's backstory, but we haven't gotten confirmation that WUKONG was the one who killed Macaque, but I'll have to go back and rewatch Season 3 for confirmation. We know he was killed, and the Lady Bone Demon had a hand in his resurrection, but we also don't know how long ago that was. When Macaque was first introduced in Season 1, Monkey King didn't seem too surprised that Macaque was alive at that point, so maybe he had known about Macaque's return previously and hadn't spoken to him. In Journey to the West, Monkey killed Macaque by stabbing him in the eye, which is why Macaque in the show has a scar that is seen when he powers up. I really hope this season tackles that moment, and hopefully it's canon to the show too, because the show hasn't really said anything too explicit about it. I hope we can also get some questions answered about Azure rising from the dead too. They teased it at the end of Season 4. The Underworld King that had supposedly gone rogue and gave the Scroll of Memory to Azure must have a larger plan and is probably the main villain going forward. Maybe not for this season, but I'm sure we'll learn more about him. I did some light research on the Underworld Kings, and I didn't see anyone who immediately jumped out to me as the Rogue King, but if anyone has any theories, please leave them in the comments. We next see Tang fighting the big blue bird. We know it's the bird because the energy blast is the same. And then we see Mei mech suit. Purple fire whooshes on screen, probably Sandy's magic because we see him and the gang racing each other in their respective vehicles, except for MK who appears out of the dust and does some cool staff tricks. Next, Monkey MK seems to have cloud privileges now and dives into the yellow beam, and the big blue bird has baby blue birds. I need to do more research on who this bird is because I couldn't find a match. Whoosh! Title screen! And Red Sun jump scare! He's back in his epic turtleneck and is hanging out with Mei. I translated his line to say, "Let's put aside the topic of the beast for a moment, Dragon Girl," to which Mei replies, "My code name is Dragon Lantern." She makes a bunch of noises and annoys Red Sun, which we love to see. And that's it! If anyone has any theories or additional thoughts or anything that contradicts anything I said in this video, please leave it in the comments. I love talking about shows, movies, and books I like, so if you want to stick around and subscribe, that'd be pretty neat. Or just leave a like, that helps too. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you after Season 5.